Not one I've watched, but yes,
It's
it's
based on popular book series, and actually, I'm surprised that they're still getting produced because the guy that wrote the books, um, these days he's sort of a I don't know, they call him a let's not get into politics here, but there was a certain group of people that he said some mean things about.
right,
And
right.
in his day, people just tolerated it, but 100 years later, um, it's kind of surprising that his books are still getting made into TV shows.
It's without getting into politics, it's difficult, isn't it, trying to bring up things from 50, 100 years ago and contextualize them in the modern day.
Right.
It's yeah, doesn't matter whether you think it was acceptable or unacceptable. No, it was a different time, wasn't it? And yeah, it's quite a thing we struggle with nowadays, don't we? Everybody's history getting raked over to see whether something they said 20 years ago is not acceptable today and therefore wasn't acceptable then.
That's part of the problem in DeFi is things that were said 5 years ago aren't necessarily acceptable today. And
Yeah,
so people don't want to dox themselves because they're afraid some nutcase is going to go trolling through their Twitter and their Facebook and everything else and find some cancel culture crap to pull on them, you know?
yeah, yeah.
It's a real problem.
Quite brutal out there in the markets at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. Big time.
You're a big supporter of DeFi, sort of keeping your head down a little bit and thinking, just ride it, ride it.
Mm, I think that things could turn around faster than people think. Like Bitcoin's what, 23,000 or something today.
Yeah,
Big
something like that.
Bitcoin, if the market were to pull a reversal, like how would that happen? Well, let's say that Ukraine surrendered and the Federal Reserve came out and said, quantitative tightening is not working, we're going to stop. Uh, Bitcoin would be at 33,000 in like 3 days. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I think. So it's not good to try to predict when these sort. Also, the midterms are coming up. Not that soon, but soon enough. And you could see some
Diffi-
relief after the midterms.
Difficulty is the people that were in the bull cycle that have hung on to the downtrend really are hurting, and there's no new retail money coming in at the moment of any volume because people have got scared with what's happened to the market. So it's how it's got to reverse that trend. But it's like anything, isn't it? You invest at a point, and if you think it's going to go up from that point, then you
Yeah,
make money.
retail money is it's like a herd of buffalo or something,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
there's a Pied Piper, and we call it the media and social media influencers. But of course, social media influencers are also part of the herd. They're not
yep.
they're not special either. They're chasing money like everybody else. Um,
Well, they're actually getting involved actively in projects as well now, aren't they? So it's the sort of pinning their colours to the mast on projects more and more.
True, true. Hitching their wagon, so to speak.
Yep, yep.
Um, yeah, well, that's true. And it's hard to promote a chart that looks so ugly. Like that's why that's why you have these blow off tops, right? Because when you're at the top, it looks like it's never going to stop going up. It's very, very easy to sell people the idea that they should buy in.
Yep.
But as soon as it flips and you're in a downtrend, so yeah, very, very, very strange times. I don't know. I know that if the Federal Reserve, let's say Congress passes another spending bill in the US, other countries do the same thing. Um, and they say, oh, yeah, we're going to print $7 more trillion. Come on, crypto is going to get a boost, you know?
Yep. Yeah, of course it is. Of
There's
course
all
it is.
there's all these different things happening, and right now it's like nothing good is happening, everything bad is happening. But I
There's
still I,
there's
s-
no
I still
there's
maintain that
no
it could. it could switch faster than people think.
Yeah, it's got a future, hasn't it? I think the two problems we've sort of had in some ways been an absolute eruption of just projects and things in the space diluting everything, and on top of that, the other thing is making sure that when people are investing, they're looking into projects fully, because the old here's another one, let's ape in, you've got to start, you've got to be a bit more responsible and a bit more circumspect.
Oh yeah, big time. Um, and that's one of the problems right now is that a lot of the people still in this market are rather savvy, and when everybody's savvy, there's no easy money.
Earn it.
You
Yeah,
know what
I
I
agree.
mean? So it's weird how it's like a snowball effect. When when there's money flowing in, lots of new people flow in, which means more money, which means hype, which means bigger exposure, which means more people, more money, and it just builds on itself, you know?
I agree.
Hey, Kurt, welcome. Wolf Sorg, I like your wolf avatar, welcome. Um, do you want to get started, Rahar, or do you want to, what do you want to do?
It's up to you. It's up to you. You're gonna record it and push it out to your guys, aren't you? So they'll be able to access it when they're ready. So we could get underway if you wanted.
Yep, I have
And
started recording.
I'm just going to try and share my screen, which always goes wrong the first time.
Yeah, we're doing a technical test here.
Oh, I'm hoping you can see the first slide.
My internet is such crap. Are you recording this also?
I can do, but it produces a massive file on OBS.
Um, how massive? Like a gig or something?
Oh, yeah, around about 300 on meg. Yeah, was the
Oh,
last one.
well, that's normal. I'm recording it, but if a cloud goes over my house or something, we might have some issues. Just because my bandwidth is limited, and uh, it's trying to stream at 1080p, which is a lot, you know. Um, but so far so good.
Okay,
Okay,
right.
shall we
Are
officially?
we to give it a go?
Yeah, I guess I'll say a little introduction. Welcome to the Wave Finance AMA. We're hosting it over here at DreamFi. I'm Caraway, your host, and our presenter today is Rahar. Rahar, do you want to say hi?
Hey, yes, Caraway, thank you for inviting us over. Here to talk to you about Wave Finance. I prepared a few slides to go through, if that's okay, just to sort of give you an overview of the project, and then after that, ask any questions, ask away. Is that okay?
I love it. I can't wait to see this presentation. Yeah, go ahead, take us away.
Okay. So, Wave Finance, I think probably one of the key things that we want to talk about before we get into the project is who's behind Wave Finance and the team. So I just want to talk a little bit about the three founders. So I am Raha. I am the community manager on Wave Finance, and myself and the mods, we work away in the Discord and the various socials to inform the community of what's going on and manage that. But the actual project team are these three unlikely characters. So Sub-Zero, he's been involved in the crypto space since 2016. He's sort of been around this space and he's built out DAOs before. He's actually just removing himself as a president of a Series C company, offboarding himself so he can concentrate full time on this space. Soccer also, he's been in the crypto space for way longer than most of us, 10 years now, and he's actually worked for the ETH Foundation in the past. And he's in the process at the moment of actually selling his company to a VC house in order to free up his time to concentrate on this space full time with Sub-Zero and Guts. And Guts really is the engineer of the team. He sold a derivatives company to Coinbase, and he now writes code and basically does all the contract work behind the scenes. So I think in the team we've got a strong history of two things which are critical in this space. One is they've been in crypto and DeFi for a number of years. Collectively, we've got over 24 years experience there. But also on top of that, they're all entrepreneurs at heart, and they've all started business in real life that have been tech related, crypto related, and some have sold them on, and some are exiting from them to concentrate on this full time. So I think there's a good pedigree in the team there that gives you confidence that they're coming into this market, understanding it well, and understanding what's needed in the market. In terms of where we are in security, we're fully audited by Solid Proof now. I'll come on to the type of contract it is in a second, but it's fully audited. We're currently looking at KYC post-launch. That's changing slightly at the moment. We're in talks with Obsidian because what we're trying to time actually is the launch. Now, we were looking to launch mid to late June. Current market conditions, etc., may mean we may just take a slightly different view on that. But at the moment, KYC will be in place with short order. The only reason it was going to be post-launch was just the time it takes with Obsidian was going to go beyond the time frame for launch, but that may change now.
Gotcha.
Make sure that the wallets are all under multi-sig, 3-4 multi-sig with 2 projects, probably Sub-Zero and somebody from the community, and then 2 others that are not related to the project in any way, neither mods, community managers, nobody. So we're potentially looking to get an influencer on board, and then if we complete our doxing with Obsidian, ask them to take up the 4th spot, because it's important to us that the community knows that we've got serious relationships with some of the well-known players in the industry that are actually securing their funds. And we'll be looking at the liquidity pool at launch for 1 year, just to lock that in place and make sure that's up. So we're putting what I like to think is the right frameworks around. We've already got an audited contract. I think KYC, Obsidian is what I would call the Rolls Royce of KYC at the moment, and trying to get them on the multi-sig as well should give investors confidence in the security and intentions.
Gotcha.
I'll just talk to you a little bit about the project itself. We're not a fork. It's really important that sort of get that message across. We're Sphere inspired, and we're on the Binance Smart Chain. But when I say Sphere inspired, the team have taken things that have worked from Sphere, some things that have worked from Seifu, and some other inspirations, in order to make sure that we have a contract that takes the best of what we've seen and delivers a new protocol. So it isn't a fork, it's a contract that's been written from scratch. And I think when I spoke to the team that they're the same view that DeFi, there's still a ton of problems in this market, outrageously high APYs that are unsustainable. The landscape, people jump from one project to the next, just trying to benefit from those APYs, and actually trying to get to a sustainable investment and treat this as a serious sustainable investment is where Wave Finance wants to go. Everybody will know that Sphere very, very recently have now gone deflationary, and everybody's going to watch that very closely to see how that goes. At Wave, we aspire to be deflationary, but not with a fixed date when any rewards will stop, but more become deflationary by more burns and more transactions, combating the inflation as we move to a perpetual APY. And I'll talk about that in a second on how that works. But we will be launching with our Wave token at the 99,000 APR annually. With the 30-minute rebase, so everybody will get tokens direct. That's been quite a revolution in the DeFi world recently, in that people can just hold the token and receive their additional rebases, as opposed to the staking and unstaking and lock-in periods. So we will be using that mechanism in order to make sure that people receive their rebases. I think in terms of taxation, we've got quite a simple taxation model where 5% will go to the treasury, 5% to liquidity, and 3% to the whirlpool. I'll talk more about that in a second.
Okay.
And on the sell, 15% to the treasury, 5% to liquidity, and 3% the whirlpool. So we're building the treasury up on sells and buys, and at the same time building liquidity up. We are going to have a dynamic tax, which is fully detailed in our white paper, which will ensure that we don't get the major price swings, that we try to minimize the impact of large sales from whales, and we've got a plan further down the line to combat that further, which I'll come on to. But I think we can never stop whales, if they want to get multiple wallets, whatever they want to do. But ultimately, what we need to do is we make it inconvenient for whales to buy and dump the market. So just to go through what the features are on launch, talked roughly about the Whirlpool. The Whirlpool is a dead wallet that also has auto compounding, and so it takes tokens out of supply. And 3% of all the trades are sent to that Whirlpool. So when I said we'd taken ideas and concepts from all contracts, this is like the burn pit in Seifu. And so is able to make sure that we can have a deflationary impact on tokens as people are buying and trading these tokens. We'll start with our play, which is our reward system and our lottery system. And so what will happen is people will be able to deploy Wave to the play wallet. Your wallet stops accumulating those rewards as you've committed them to the wallet. And then what will happen is every 3 days, there'll be a lottery draw, and you'll receive, if you win, a larger proportion of tokens into your wallet. There will be also a number of those burnt. There is a withdrawal penalty. You agree to lock in for 16 days. You can withdraw if you have an emergency, but it'll start on day one with a 30% tax coming down by roughly 1.6% per day in order to make sure that by 16 days you're at 0% of tax. But I think what we'll do with play is in the early stages of launch, we'll run multiple lotteries before we sort of rest into the 3-day period, because we want to reward early investors with that. So there'll be a few weeks where multiple prizes are actually given out. And then our treasury usage is really going to be around 3 main areas. One is governance token acquisition, which is quite an interesting part of this protocol, stable coin farming, and for developing marketing. When I talk about government token acquisition, the plan here is to acquire significant governance tokens in other protocols for 2 reasons. One is to be able to have an influence on the direction of that protocol, but the other one is to also create a direct marketing relationship. So the team at the moment are in advanced conversations with PancakeSwap and are looking to acquire a large number of governance tokens in that project so that they can have a fully fledged marketing campaign. Now, if we do that with PancakeSwap and we prove out that their community and our community can work together and bring more business between the two communities, it becomes a rinse and repeat. And then we can look at the next project that we want to take a large stake in the governance tokens with. So if you like, that first one will really prove out the investment strategy. So this isn't trying to do lots of things. This is trying to do a very targeted partnership with an established project that we can benefit mutually on being part of that project. And like I say, it then becomes a rinse and repeat. We will be pairing Wave with BNB in PancakeSwap, and that'll obviously be available for everybody to swap and do what they need with. But that's the pairing. It will be with BNB.
Okay.
Just want to talk a little bit about launch allocation, because one of the questions that we often get asked is where do the team funds go and how does the launch allocation get broken down? So we're currently talking about launching in one of 2 ways. And that is, the first one is, do we launch on PinkSale or do we launch on our DApp? And we're actually going to be speaking to the community about that, because while some people prefer PinkSale because it offers that sort of greater level of security in terms of if the soft cap's not reached, it automatically deals with refunds, it automatically locks the LP. There are others that are saying, well, but they also dump the tokens on launch, and so we prefer a DApp launch. So we're going to listen to the community on that, and that's under advisement, especially with where the market is at the moment. But in terms of where the launch allocation goes, 51% of the funds will be locked in the LP immediately, and 45% will go to the treasury. There'll be 2% that's just used for the fees during launch, so things like the KYC with Obsidian and those bits. And then the team allocation is 2% of the funds. And that is how the total pre-sale will be broken down. Now, in terms of the pre-sale, We're not looking to have a massive whitelist. So one thing I say, Caraway, when you run any competitions in here, if you want to give a couple of whitelists away, 3 whitelists away, just let me know the members that you think deserve them, and if they want to come over and they want to take part in our pre-sale, let me know who they are, and we'll whitelist them up for you.
Okay,
So we'll
great.
give that to your community.
Thank you.
But we will be launching with roughly 150 to 200 whitelists. We've currently at around about 60. The first 75 are on 3 invites, so there's still time to get in until it gets more difficult. But we'll have a public pre-sale at a value of $0.01 per token. And what we're going to do is just have a full launch. So public and whitelist will buy at the same time. And then what will happen at the end of pre-sale, providing we hit our soft cap, is we will airdrop 20% additional tokens to whitelist holders. So we want to do it that way because we want to give everybody access to be able to buy the tokens at the same time. And we're looking to launch an initial market cap of somewhere in the region of 70 to 100,000. Now, the reason we don't want to launch too high a market cap is we want to be able to be in a position where we can grow organically and not suffer from massive buys and massive dumps. So we're quite happy that we're not looking for 1 million, we're not looking for $600,000. And obviously, as the market is at the moment, it will be what it will be. But we sort of targeted the 70 to $100,000 range. We're talking about launching towards the end of June, middle of June, end of June, so around about now. But with the market where it is, that's continually
Sure.
under review, because the last thing you want to do is launch a great product when funds are short in the market.
Right. And when people are diverting their eyes.
Yes, absolutely. They're
Right.
all looking at graphs rather than looking at projects.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
So I just talk you roughly through the roadmap, because I think the roadmap sort of gives you sort of a view of what happens. Now, obviously, if we shift right, all this shift right as well. But this is where at the moment. So Ocean Bonds is our effectively our whale sale, so that they're able to buy direct from the treasury instead of liquidity pool at a reduced tax rate. So
You mean
rather than
sell
suffer,
to the treasury.
yeah, sorry,
Sell.
sell. We're going to buy the tokens from them.
Right, the
You're quite
treasury will
right.
be the one buying. That's right.
Yes,
Makes sense.
correct. And so that what that will do is that'll enable them the benefit of less tax, but it'll also give investors some more stability in the LP, and that there's not tokens being dumped on the exchange. Following that, we are going to start to look at building out our own decks. And the conversations have been had at the moment on whether it's a DEX aggregator or a pure DEX, but actually we want to build it into a full purpose DEX over time for swapping, staking, and farming of a variety of tokens. And the team are working on that at the moment. So we're well ahead of schedule in terms of the development, but we want to make sure that we have incremental releases and incremental availability of functions for our investors as we go, and do things properly rather than rush anything through. So the WaveDex is in advanced development, but won't be released on launch. We're going to introduce what we're calling H2O liquidity, and this is this is a similar thing that Sphere have done in terms of being able to actively use the LP to farm rather than just have the LP sat there, nothing, waiting for people to buy or sell, and that will also enable the LP to um, farm into itself and grow its value and grow the token value.
Is Sphere already using their quantum liquidity? I mean, is it functioning and working?
So from what I've read up and what I've seen, because they're just in the middle actually today. In fact, as of an hour and 20 minutes ago, they're just moving to V2.1, aren't they? They're literally doing the contract change now.
Oh, okay.
So so I think that's a watch and learn over the next week or two. They turned rebases off a couple of days ago, and they've currently disabled trading whilst they're migrating to 2.1.
Yeah,
So
it's a
that's
brilliant idea, but
mm,
it's I mean, it really is. Imagine if you could use um, the liquidity from Tesla or Apple
yep,
instead of just letting it sit there.
yep.
Um, However, I wonder what's going to happen when somebody attacks the protocol. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
you
Uh,
know what I mean?
and I
Like,
think
what if
yeah, yeah.
somebody well, it's hard to attack a protocol, but what if somebody sends the token into price shock? because there's not enough liquidity, or will it be spoofed? Will the liquidity pool act as though the liquidity is there, even though it's not? I mean, these are um, it's all a little bit over my head.
Yeah,
I need to have
and
more explained to me, you know?
yeah, and being brutally honest about Caraway is mine. I'm interested to see how Sphere performs because ultimately, is it about hedging in the liquidity pool and making sure that you can't get sent into price shock, or like you say, is it spoofed that it's there and withdrawn as needed? So I think it's going to be an interesting experiment. But if you think back, if we would have talked about this 5 months ago and said you won't need to stake, you'll automatically get your rebases straight to your wallet, people wouldn't have even thought that was possible. And so I think the whole space is slowly innovating and evolving. And what you do is you take what works from protocols and you then build on top of them. And so we're just moving into quantum liquidity with Sphere. It'll be interesting to see how it pans out. It's on our roadmap for July. If we move the release out a month, this will be on our roadmap for August. And so we'll have time to refine it and understand the pitfalls of it before we fully fledged into our H2 liquidity pool. And then I think the final thing is we want to move to perpetual APY, and that is where we can sustain uh, rebases based on the actual yield that we're receiving. So stop being a constant 99k APY, but actually act within the profitability of the protocol, which does become sustainable income at that point. And so obviously that will all depend on the performance of the treasury and to some extent the H2O liquidity to enable to offer proper long-term real passive income to investors
Gotcha.
so that you just sit the token there, you receive your income, and that's it. And yes, the token may appreciate or depreciate in value, uh, but the other way that I sort of reason this in my mind is if more tokens are burnt than rebase, you're actually growing your percentage share of that rebase, and that's why it will need to move around depending on tokens in circulation. But ultimately, because it's not going to be inflationary, the only thing that can happen is the token should burn down over time. So if you hold a bit larger percentage of tokens. It's simple maths really. So I think there'll be of benefit for people who want to sell, and there'll be a benefit for people who want to hold, and that's what you want because then that gives the two active ends of the market to drive the price.
Got it. Oh, look, a little sneak peek of the DAP.
And guess what? I got this yesterday. So you are the first to see it since I got this yesterday.
God
Um,
dang, look at that market cap.
yeah, yeah. Let's have it. Yeah. I'm free. Look at your balance. Do you want that to be your DAP?
Yeah, I like that. I want to click sell right now, even though it's
Yeah, yeah. It's great that I could have 1.2 million tomorrow, but actually I'll just take the million now. So yeah, there's a sneak peek of the DAP. That's hot off the press. Literally got that given to me yesterday by Sub-Zero. So that yeah, you and your AMA are the first to see that. We've not even posted that up in our Discord yet. So there you go. But yes, that's what the DAP's going to look like, and hopefully people will like it. We want a nice clean UI,
yeah,
easy to follow.
I like it. I like the UI. Nice and clean. The background doesn't like distract, and yeah, looks good to me. My God,
So
this reminds me of one of the early very months ago. I got into this project called Medellin, and
all right.
it was. Do you remember Medellin?
Oh, I've not.
Oh
Was it
my
in
God.
that?
Well, Medellin is some kind of reference to like Pablo Escobar or some kind of like cocaine.
Oh, the Medellin cartel.
Oh,
Yes, yes,
okay. See, I
yes.
didn't even
That was
know.
the name of his cartel, his drug cartel.
And it was it was just one of these ridiculous high APR things, and their DAP was so rough. And I said, man, this is so degen. And so I only put in like a little bit, and 3 days later, I had like 4x'd, not not
Right.
not on paper either, but like profits taken 4x, and I just think, man, if they had had a clean DApp like yours, that project could have gone somewhere, or could have gone somewhere else.
And don't you think that epitomizes the whole space that we live in? You can create a what you call a meme project about the Medellin cartel, and everybody jumps in, or whatever you want to be, and you can also produce a what is a serious financial instrument to earn, and yet you're dealing with the same people who are online, and
That's
some like to jump in and join the Medellin cartel, and some like to join Wave Finance, have a serious investment. It's just the way of the world, I guess, in this area working.
it's it's
Look,
it's always has been, man. The way of the world is it's funny because the times change, but the human nature doesn't change.
absolutely, we're all degens at heart. We just don't like to recognise it.
We're fighting the degen influence inside
We
of
are
us.
absolutely daily.
Okay, what do we have here?
So,
Current
so,
status.
so this is where we're up to at the moment. So just to sort of reiterate some of the things we said, but the contract's audited, the play contract's audited. We're all good to go. We're currently roughly just over 700 members in the Discord, growing the whitelist slowly. We're not in a pump the membership up, pump the whitelist up. Like I say, we're going to only hold 250, 200 whitelist members, and so it's important to us that we grow organically. We're not doing any of the shilling. We're doing AMAs. We're doing a few select collab giveaways and with projects that we like, and that's it. And we're just really trying to grow at that
It's awesome that you
pace that
guys already
suits
have
us.
the contracts written. That's great.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
guys
We're
are
in an
uh, you
audit,
guys
and
are ready to go. You're just waiting for the right time.
we're just waiting for the. It's all about timing now in the market. If we're in a bull market right now, I would imagine Sub-Zero will be saying, "Go and tell DreamFi we launch tomorrow."
Right.
But when you're not in a bull market, you sort of want to make sure it's right. You want to make sure you get your whitelist to the right level. And to be fair, if the delay, if we delay because of the market or whatever condition, if the team decide to do that, and it means that we get the KYC in place with Obsidian pre-launch, well, that can only be a good thing, because when you're in a bear market or a market that's down, people want security. So that can only be a good thing anyway.
Definitely.
And so yeah, we are where we are. That's us when launched, target of June, but June could pass very quickly, and we could carry on seeing red candles and decide whether it's July. But that's where we are at the moment. And apart from that, it's over to you in case you want to ask me anything today.
Sure. Very nice presentation. Let's talk about play.
Okay.
Is the lottery chosen every 16 days, or how often, like, is it chosen?
So the lottery's chosen every 3 days. Basically, everybody deposits their tokens into the Play wallet. You start receiving your rebases, and the wallet receives the rebases. And then a percent, I think it's 70% of those tokens are then distributed to the 10 winning wallets, and the other are burnt. So it's a way of giving some deflation to the token, but you have a chance of winning way above what you would in a normal rebase. You have to keep your tokens in there for 16 days to be able to withdraw at no tax, but that tax starts at 30%. So if you deposit today and withdraw today from the Play wallet, you'll have a 30% tax, but
I'm,
every day that tax drops down.
I guess I'm a little confused about if the lottery is chosen every 3 days, then after 3 days there won't be any, like, what's with the 16 days? Because won't your money be um, given away in the lottery after 3 days?
No, 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 no. So your money is never touched. So we'll walk through an example. You put 100 tokens in on day one, right? You're no longer receiving rebases on those tokens. The prize fund is the rebases. So your 100 tokens are never touched.
Do you get the 100 tokens back?
Absolutely. You can
Oh,
withdraw
I totally get
after
it now. This is
16
a
days. You
it's
can
a
get it just.
rebase lottery.
It's a rebase level. So
I
it's
love it.
only
That's
the
awesome.
rebase tokens.
That's a great idea.
So what you're basically saying is, I'll give up my tokens. I'll forego my rebase for the chance of winning big.
And you're only foregoing, uh, from a mathematical standpoint, 30% of your
Yeah, two
rebases.
percent, 2% today. Yeah, 2% today for 16 days. 1.91% a day for 16 days, and then you can have your tokens back. You can bring them out early, but you do get the sliding tax.
Yeah. So
But yes, you're
mathematically,
foregoing.
you lose very little. The amount that's burned, but the amount that burned, you're actually losing less because that should help the price
Yeah,
indirectly.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I like it. That's cool.
And if you think about it, you put 100 tokens in, I put 1,000 in. I've got 1,000 tickets, you've got 100. If you win, that's far better than you doing rebases.
Right.
So you're buying the lottery ticket.
Let's talk about Sub-Zero. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't he die in the 90s? I mean, didn't he? Wasn't he killed by Goro at the end of
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat 2?
Well, you see, that's that. You and I come from a different age because Sub-Zero for me died in The Running Man and was killed by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I hey, I'm familiar with that as well. I'm equally familiar.
I think I may
Good,
have been a decade or two before you, which
great
probably is showing
reference.
our
Great
age now.
reference. Um, okay. Um, Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Me, okay, wow. So I am the wrong side of 50. So to give you my context of age, but I'm the wrong side of 50, but I'm actually a company director in the UK in IT, and I sort of look after a team of around about 600 people around the world in India, Dayton, Ohio, which is the IT center of the US, and the UK, and sort of so I've been in the IT industry now for 30 years, not in fintech. I deliver solutions to local government. So I've sort of been in the technical sector for that long. As I started off as a software developer, but actually got into DeFi myself around about September last year when I built some mining rigs from the ground up in lockdown out of sheer boredom to see what all this crypto stuff was about. And then as I mined the coins, thought that's my play money for DeFi. And guess which project I found? It might have been called Wonderland. Um,
Uh-huh.
as just about everybody I speak to has some experience there, and that got me into the DAOs and then into the nodes, and I've just sort of worked in it. So this is more a hobby and a bit of a passion for me as I head towards hanging up my spurs in real life and having something to do. So I try and act as community managers on a few projects, and if you like, bring my dour British tone to them. But ultimately, being involved in some of this cutting edge stuff is just exciting to me. I think with a bit more business management, it could be really good. I think a lot of the projects that launch are too yeehaw and off we go. And if you actually sat back and move to a sustainable model on these could be great crowd-funded projects that enable people to earn passive income. And so that's where my interest came, and that's why I'm now sat in the space. And yeah, um, installed Discord just after Christmas. That is sort of like, there you go, 6 months into Discord, and that's where I am now. I live in
It's
Discord.
it's a fast 6 months, wasn't it?
Oh well, if I look back to trying to work out why my mining rig wasn't recognizing a graphics card in September to now, I feel like I've done a decade of of tech startup in my head, but it's just such an interesting space. I mean,
No,
full
it's
of interesting people. You speak to people you never would dream of, and people with some great ideas, and it's just moving so quickly.
yeah, it's weird. It's so hard to wrap your mind around because I said it was a fast 6 months, but it feels like a decade. It feels like it was
Oh yeah,
so long ago. Like DeFi's in such a different spot. Most of the people in this space are um, in a completely different spot than they were 6 months ago, or even 3 months ago.
and I think now if you look at the team here in these three guys that are on screen, it's attracting entrepreneurs and investors that want to build sustainable businesses because it's a great mechanism for doing so. Whereas, and you sort of moved away, so you went, it was full on degen, and that element's still here, and that's fine. And it's sort of we've now got a mix of serious investors and some degen sort of type projects going on. I look at all the projects that are going around. I sort of you move from nodes, and then suddenly everybody starts doing NFTs, which is just a node with a graphic image for me. but that's just me simplifying it in my brain. It's just another form of a node that you sink your money into with some utility, and it's sort of the old NFT explosion in the last few months is just it takes your breath away. Absolutely takes your breath away. I don't know how many NFTs you own, Caraway, so I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing to say.
No, it's cool. Let's see. I want to at everyone. Um, I've neglected the general chat. I've got some notifications. I want people to know that they can actually ask. You guys can ask questions right here in the voice channel text chat. This is a new feature from Discord, and I don't think most people know about it. I mean, this is like literally the first time I've ever used it. Where are you seeing that? How there's actually a text channel here in
Oh
the
yes,
video
they've
chat?
just introduced it, haven't they? Yes, they've just
Yes.
introduced it.
So typically when I do an AMA, I have a separate text channel off the main stage where people can um, ask questions. But we didn't have that this time, so it's like we haven't been getting any questions. Um, are you there, Rahar? We've lost Rahar suddenly.
Oh no, I'm back.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay. That's cool.
I've come off the screen so that I can come back to the actual audio channel now.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, nice presentation. If anybody here in the audience has any questions, now is a great time to ask. And in the meantime, um, one of my questions I think you already answered. I said, how does the yield from the treasury return to the wave holder? But you said in August, you guys are going to go to a, hopefully in all, whenever you guys do it, go to a different sort of model where the
Yeah,
APY will become a function of the treasury, correct?
yes, of the treasury yield, so that we're able to be sustainable.
You mentioned whitelist will get a 20% airdrop. When will that take place?
So we'll do the pre-sale. The pre-sale will go through either the DAP or pink sale to be decided. We're probably going to ask the community for some views on that. And then what we'll do is once the pre-sale is over and the tokens are allocated to the wallets, we'll obviously have collected all the wallets from the whitelist in advance, and we'll identify those wallets and the tokens they bought, and then just airdrop 20% immediately. So there'll be 20% to the good on tokens.
I'm sorry, you said immediately before or after launch?
Immediately on launch, so they'll get the tokens at the same time they get the tokens from the DApp.
Oh, okay,
It'll be
gotcha,
seamless.
gotcha.
There'll be no waiting.
I didn't see any allocation for the Wave decks in the treasury slide.
No, and that's because at the moment it's because they're trying to decide whether it's going to be a pure DEX or an aggregator, and so the tokenomics for that will have to be decided based on how they build the DEX. So it's not fully been gone walked through at the moment because it is a roadmap item.
But it is going to be funded from the treasury, correct?
Yes, yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but it should, if you think about it, it will also introduce another income stream because it'll be transaction revenue.
Right. Um, that's all the questions that I wrote down. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the what you guys are looking for in terms of like a launch signal? I mean, are you looking for a price stabilization for a certain number of weeks, or are you looking for some sort of sentiment signal?
I think there's sort of two parts to it. There is, I think, when you say price sentiment, I'd use the term investor confidence in the market. We're looking for that, and we're looking for, if you like, signals from our community. We've got quite a close community. Um, the white we have the whitelisted community are already giving us, what they want to see in order to invest. Forget the market. This is what we want to see in place in order to contribute. And so I think we're in a opinion where we're looking more for the sentiment from the investors because we think the model is good to go. We think the tech is there. Like I said, we wanted to launch mid-June, so we would have been launching within the next week. But I think the slowdown in take-up of people moving around projects as well as what's happening in the market is we want to wait while our community is ready because they are the people that's going to launch the project. And we don't want to launch, as I've said, with a massive fundraise. We actually want to launch with sub 100k, which will allow us then to bring buy pressure as other people move in.
Yeah, I understand. DreamFi is a similar goal. We've got the hard cap on the private sale is only 75K, for instance, in the current model. Sort of for the same reason, we want to allow for um, some buy pressure at the beginning to help paint the chart, at the very least, while we have time to get the word out that uh, you know um, what's the expression I'm looking for? Um, like with God's grace or whatever, we do have a successful launch, meaning no bugs, no problems. I mean, a lot of people are savvy. They know that you should not try to get into these launches in second one or minute one.
No, no,
You should
and
wait
absolutely,
to see if the team has a launch that is free of bugs and mistakes and errors, and it shouldn't be like, oh, you have to get in on minute one or you're not gonna have a chance to do well. You know what I mean? That's a terrible attitude. But we talked about this. I mean, people are more savvy now in this space. Less people are trying to get in at minute one and getting wrecked.
yeah, and I think people are deciding that they if they like the project, if they've read the papers and done their due diligence, and they're more likely to push for a whitelist spot, knowing that's the entry point really. And if you don't enter at that entry point, then like you say, you're a little bit more circumspect and you do a little bit of watch and wait. You make sure it settles, you make sure it launches correctly, you protect yourself from the dreaded rug by giving it a little bit of time. And then you see the benefits. And it's okay being a day or two or a week or whatever it is your timescale late. You just want to invest in sound solid projects.
That's exactly right. And one of the best indicators is how does the launch actually go? You know,
Absolutely.
is it a disaster? Like, I don't know. I bet 15% is very conservative estimate of how many launches are disastrous. Um, it's a
I think
tough.
that's quite conservative. I think that
Yeah,
the
it is.
the number of launches that happen, and then everybody's in Discord and fighting. When you're fighting the chat, going, "Just give us a minute, just give us a minute," and the devs are hard at it, and you just think, "Oh, come on." So I think 15% is really conservative.
So, one of the things about Wave Finance that I like is um, that the Discord is not botted, as far as I can tell.
Mm.
How do you feel about the amount of spoofing that goes on in this space?
Look, in any web-based delivery, there's always going to be those types of actors that are looking to gain an advantage, and security's got to be at the forefront of our mind. We have been very careful to grow organically and not. We haven't got into any services that we think could bot us. I think people need to really protect their funds, not just protect themselves in this space, because we've all had it. We've all been tempted and spoofed, and bots on the front of discords that you join, and we're just diligent in watching out for that to make sure that we protect our investors. I think that personal level, if I forget Wave Finance for a second, it is simply just about being careful, and it's a bit like anything. You move from email where you get told not to open attachments, yet everybody opens DMs and thinks they're real, and they're not. If you're not expecting them, you're not expecting them. So I think personal responsibility and security is key in this space, but we've all been there. We've all, and it's like anything. If it's too good to be true, it is. It's that simple. None of us win giveaways
It's,
off the bat just by joining servers.
it's a very diplomatic answer. I think that most of the projects in this space are spoofing their numbers, and not just this space. It actually is worse in the NFT space. Um,
The membership of the NFT servers is some of them they just I try to understand how they can be real.
right, right. When I recently saw a project that had 400,000 Twitter followers, and I'm thinking like,
Mm.
there's not even 400,000 people who could tell you what DeFi is.
Yeah, yeah,
Totally,
absolutely.
totally fake. I mean,
I would rather have 700 real members than a Discord of 4,000.
absolutely. You want people that are um, uh, believe in your vision, not people that are just sort of degening in because they're tricked. Um, but anyway, I'm not trying to throw shade at other projects. I mean,
No, no, no.
there are explanations for this kind of thing. Like if somebody said, "Listen, um, it's just human nature. People want to feel like they're part of something big, not something small." And um, I guess I can't really justify it, but I can imagine sort of somebody justifying it in a way that's sort of acceptable. But it is a problem. To me, it's a problem in the
It,
space, and I congratulate Wave Finance for not giving in because it's easy. It's like $10 to get 1,000
yep,
Discord followers.
it is.
It
It is,
it
and
really is
we're
that
just
cheap.
not going down that. Yeah, we're not going down that route. We don't think it's good for the environment, for the DeFi environment. We don't think it helps. We, if you think about it, if we end up in regulation, it will be because we did it ourselves. The way not to end up into regulation is to actually do things properly and prove that we can self-govern. And for me, spoofing is not self-governing well, but each to their own.
Right. It is tempting. I see a lot of projects. Um, s- well, actually, most projects spoof immediately. They spoof before they ever open the Discord, so that the day they open the Discord and you join, you could be the very first person that joined, but you think you're number 2165. The Twitters are even worse. I don't understand these people that spoof their Twitters. So I guess they pay for the spoof and they don't specify
Yeah,
how many they want, and then
well, they
they
just want followers, don't they? So that when somebody looks, they think I must follow as well because there's 21,000 people following that. It must be good.
well, not, yeah, exactly. But then
That's just the whole point of it.
Their Discord only has, you know, 2,000. Most of those are spoofed as well. But you look at the disparity and you go, and then you look at the online, and they've got 48 people online, 2,000 members, 48 online, 8,000 Twitter followers, and you go, what the hell? So my sort of philosophy on this is that the higher quality investors will suss this out immediately, and they won't want to be part of your project
Yep,
unless I mean, the best projects have a real following and they spoof on top of that to sort of bring the hype to a peak. Now, that's also sort of something you could criticize, but they all do it. I've never seen a major project not spoof, and that doesn't take anything away from the projects except it's a little questionable.
yep. And I think if you look at, I mean, when I joined Wave I looked at Wave as seriously I'd look at anything in my real life. Where less than 150 members, it was obviously growing organically, and that was I'm saying it was one of the attractions. But that ticked one of my boxes. If it had been up and running a week with 4,000 members, you'd have gone, okay,
Right.
but it wasn't, and so that was a tick in the box when I joined Wave.
Let's go ahead and Kurt asks, who in the KYC are you looking to add to the multi-sig? I
So,
think all three of the um, founders. Isn't that the answer?
so all three of the founders will be KYC'd because they all can touch the contract and wallets. So everybody who can should be. In terms of the multi-sig, it'll be Sub-Zero plus A another, and that A another will need to KYC because if we do go with Obsidian, that's under their rules. Anybody that can touch the wallets, and then we'll be looking for an influencer, and if we go with Obsidian, which it looks like we are, somebody from the Obsidian Council. So that we will expect all people that touch wallets to be KYC'd.
Gotcha. Kurt asks, what are you doing to help get your name out there? And then he has a follow-up question that I'll ask afterwards.
Okay, so this is interesting because again, we don't want to go to a lot of paid shilling to flood the Discord. So we're trying to be quite circumspect in how we grow. So obviously we're going to run the AMAs. We're going to run some AMAs on Telegram as well with some of the Telegram groups that we're talking to at the moment, and we are going to be quite selective on one or two YouTube channels, and we're vetting them at the moment to make sure they sort of we feel they're going to deliver quality over quantity. And the YouTube channels are interesting because what they do provide us with is not just a window into their channel for their viewers, but it provides us with additional marketing material. So that's great in that we then have marketing material that we can use. We're not at the moment going to be pushing too hard on any other mediums. We sort of at this point again avoided a lot of paid engagements, not because we haven't got the budget, because there is a marketing budget, but I think you grow from your core initially, you grow organically, and then you say, well, have I reached a saturation of investors that I can launch with? Because if I can, that's good. If not, we take the next step in the model and we start to look for some more paid engagements. But that is slow and organic has been our approach purposely to make sure that we get quality people into the card.
Yeah, absolutely great answer. And we have a follow-up question. He says, he mentions crypto winter. It's winter and summer, right? It's
Yeah.
hell's frozen over. Um, he said, "What is your backup plan if and when there aren't as many investors as you might hope?" I think that you kind of answered that. It's to ratchet up the marketing and
Yeah.
to use paid marketing, which
Yeah.
um, is effective, but you don't always get the quality of investors because the organic investors are the people that have are like know your white paper. They know
Yep.
who all the people
Absolutely.
are, and they see the vision and they believe in the vision. Um, but then that's not the only way. That's not the only investor, and that's not the only investor that you want to appeal to. You also want to appeal. For instance, when I get mass DMs, yes, it's annoying, but I know that at the very least, the people behind the project have gone through the trouble to figure out how these mass DMs work. And even though it's pretty cheap, they are paying for marketing, and uh, it's a plus. It's a small plus. I mean,
Yep.
I if I'm a pre-saler in a project and decide not to do mass DMs, I have to question why, because yes, they're annoying, but hey, I click mass DMs. I mean, if it's a project that looks good, if the DM is professional and like really well put together, and the pictures are compelling, I click mass DMs. I do. Why wouldn't I? I mean, it's part of the space, you know?
And I think the key there goes back to, if you think about this, we started this 2 to 3 weeks ago when we thought we were at the bottom of a market.
Right.
We weren't. We weren't. And so we're at the other bottom at the moment, and there might be another bottom to come. So I think it all depends now on how the market reacts over the next couple of weeks as to what our marketing strategy will be. Because I think that's the most important aspect. We need confident investors that first and foremost understand our project. And one of the, I suppose, when you grow organically and people are reading the white paper, one of the best things to see in your Discord is questions being asked by investors that have been answered by other investors. And you can't beat that because you know they understand what you're doing and they're bought in because they're knowledgeable about your project. But as far as marketing, if this downtrend continues and we decide that we need to do something else, there's nothing off the table. It's more a case of making sure that we do it in a structured approach and make sure that we follow through on how we're going to grow the membership in a controlled manner. We're not and not simply just, if you like, for want of a better phrase, throw jelly at a wall here and see what sticks. And I think that'll be the approach all the way through to launch, because we're not. It's a serious project with a group of three very serious entrepreneurs that want to make this space work right.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Croatia for you says, oh, and by the way, guys, we are coming up to the hour mark. Thank you guys all for being here. But it's time to get your questions in if you have any other questions. And we will be giving away a couple of whitelists. Isn't that right, Rahar? Isn't that what you
Yep, yep. You have three for you to do with as you please.
okay. Um, so, Kurt, Croatia, if you guys want whitelist. Anyway, Croatia says, what are your visions for the long term and from where do you plan to generate revenue? Now, we've sort of already been over that, but
Yeah.
go ahead and give them a quick
So
rundown.
we want to move to perpetual APY, where the revenue is generated from our acquisition of governance tokens and farming on the various partnerships we've got. And as I mentioned right at the beginning, one of the actual protocols that we're in advanced conversations with is Pancake Swap, because we want to be able to make sure that we have not only a relationship with a project like Pancake Swap, but also have an influence and have a real partnership, and not spread ourselves too thin. Once that's established, we'll move on. So we expect revenue from those protocols come in. We expect to be able to farm from the LP and use that revenue then to produce a sustainable APY. Now, will that APY be 2%? Will it be 1%? Will it be 1.5? Well, the whole point of a sustainable APY is it's what the protocol can provide for. And so for me, it is more a case of people understanding that this is a long-term project that will develop a DEX that will absorb fees. And then actually, once you have got all those income streams coming in, that will dictate the APY, and you don't need to touch your investment. You've got true perpetual income. That is the long-term vision of the project.
Good answer. If there's no more questions, or if there are more questions, go ahead and answer them. And otherwise, Rahar, if you want to say a few closing words, um,
I
feel
think
free.
I'd probably end by thanking you, Caraway, for inviting us on. It's an absolute pleasure for me to do an AMA at a reasonable time, but in the UK, it's just touching 7 p.m. here. It's usually closer to midnight, but I'd like to thank you for your members for joining. I didn't see how the numbers had grown because I was too busy looking at the presentation, but it's good to see that people are here. And if you want to know more, come over to the Discord, ask any questions. The guys are there. We've got two of our mods on at the moment, in Volsorg and Sam. But if you come over, they'll more than happy answer any questions you've got. And I think what we'll do is let's see how the launch goes, or when it goes, should I say, and maybe come back and let you know how it's going, Caraway, down the line.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back, and thank you for saying the kind words. You are a gentleman and a baller.
Thank you, and thank you guys for listening.
I coined that. That was an original
I've no
phrase.
idea where that's coming from. That
Original
ballers to me
phrase.
means what is ballers to me? Ballers is what's his name? The Rock.
What is Dwayne the Rock Johnson?
Dwayne the Rock Johnson. That was his series that he did. Yeah,
I it just means a person who's um
I'm not sure I want to hear this, but go on.
no, I'm not sure. It's like from like rap culture. A baller is somebody who's out there and outgoing and partying and like successful in the social scene, and I guess I don't know. I'm not into hip hop.
No idea. I'm a child of the '80s. Remember?
Well, they used to say gentleman and a scholar, but that's it's 2022. You're a
Yeah,
gentleman and a
we've got to move
baller.
on.
It's like a whale in crypto. Kurt says that's right.
Right.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. A baller is
Okay.
somebody who's financially successful and he's out there in his Benz or his his Lambo if you're into crypto, and he's making the scene, right?
Okay.
That
Well,
that's you.
that's what we try and do. I'm balling away.
No, okay, okay. All right.
All right,
Thanks
Caroline.
everybody for being here, and yeah, thanks a lot for coming, Rahar. I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Yeah, talk to you again. Bye bye.